boiling point seems quite a hot temperature. So when you're talking about lava, it is much, much hotter than boiling point. There's boiling point 202. It's 1,300 to 2,200. So very, very much more than boiling point. So if lava is hotter than water, why isn't this man, that suit that he's wearing would stop the lava? Look what he's got on his feet. He's got a pair of trainers on, and he's actually very close to a very hot piece of lava. Right next to his leg, it's going to be like that bit there. And that's all he's got. Obviously the gases is why he's got a mask on, but even that, you'd think he'd have an air mask. I don't know, maybe he's got one underneath, but that suit and the trainers is supposed to protect him from something that's 4 or 5 times the heat of boiling water. 4 or 5 times the heat. I mean, when he puts it in the water, it's reacting, but we know that cold fusion is something that looks even hot, the whole thing, and it isn't. It's not hot at all. Obviously it reacts to things, does things to things if it touches them, but just look how close he is. If that thing is 5 times higher than boiling point, he wouldn't be able to stand the heat. He wouldn't be able to do that. Just look how close he is. I just don't get it. Does anybody else get it? I mean, I have put a couple of videos out about this. How can he stand that in a pair of trainers? Yeah, they're probably reinforced trainers or something, but come on, trainers! I don't know, I just find that very suspect that he can get that close. Hasn't anybody else thought this?
I don't even know what to say to that.
It's massive. We're a walking universal library. We are the way for the universe to figure out and explore the third dimension and understand what it's like to be and live in the third dimension as every individual living thing. And we're all connected through this quantum entanglement. Every single thing that exists is all connected, still connected. Space is an illusion, distance is an illusion, separation is all an illusion.
What do you mean it's an illusion?
We appear to be sitting in 2 separate chairs with a space in between us. But we're all atoms on an energetic grid that's connected and has always been connected. So the space in between us appears to be a distance, but if you go on the quantum level, you discover that we're both local. We're still in the same position, which is the original position. This entire universe is made up of a complete holography. We're living in a fractal holographic matrix, a matrix of light. And it doesn't take away from there being a creator, because what I'm telling you about is the method used of this to make this creation. The method is a fractal holographic matrix, a matrix of light. Quantum physicists will tell you that a human being exists both as a wave of light and also solid matter. And they got the first image of a wave converting into solid matter on a special type of camera. This is in physics.org. So in wave particle duality, they discovered that everything in the entire universe exists first as waves of light until a conscious observer interacts with it, and then it collapses. This is hard to wrap your mind around, but imagine this. We're sitting here. Your house, it exists as a wave of potentials, not your house. It's a wave of light. Now, the construction technique of the stacking of those atoms that built your house has a specific resonant frequency, so no matter who looks at it, it always collapses into the same exact shape. But if nobody's looking, it's just a wave of potentials. Until you see it, when you bend the corner, it collapses back into a solid structure. This is now well-known, proven science due to the double slit experiment. If you look that up, you'll find out they took a microscopic box, they put a little gun inside that can shoot individual electrons through slits inside the box to hit the back wall. So the 2 slits here, and they wanted these particles to hit the back wall to see if it was going to make a digital imprint on the back wall. Well, when they did this, when they looked, it was waves. So they said, wait a minute, how can there be a wave pattern on the back wall? We shot individual single electrons through the slits. There should be dot, 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 dot. I said, we got to look at this and see what's going on. So they put a camera in the box to see what was happening. When they looked, just looking, all of a sudden the electron said, oh, you're looking at me? Okay, I'm going to go back to being solid matter now. Dot, 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 dot. Took the camera away, waves. Put the camera back, dot, 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 dot. Oh, electrons are conscious. They are aware that they're being observed. And electrons orbit every atom in the universe, which means every atom is conscious. That means you think that you're sitting in a chair that's just made by man. We didn't make this chair. We stacked atoms. We stacked conscious atoms in a format that allowed us to sit on them. Everything is conscious. This chair is conscious. This suit is conscious. Everything is conscious because they're all made of atoms. And all we are ourselves are a stack of conscious atoms observing ourselves right now. You see? And so it gets really deep, man. I can go deeper and deeper, but it's pretty powerful stuff.
Keep going. Keep going.
So the benefit of knowing this, imagine teaching your kids that everything that exists is conscious. A rock, a blade of grass, your clothing, even your book bag is aware. It's conscious. Imagine teaching them how to respect conscious things, the level of respect they will have for their personal items, their bike, their clothing, their book bag, their schoolwork. Understanding and knowing that everything that they interact with, everything they touch or see has a level of consciousness imbued into it. Now you're training your kid to be a super conscious person that understands, like, treat everything that exists, no matter whether we think man made it or it's natural, with respect and dignity. That's the depth of understanding that people need to get to. And when we can get to that level of understanding, wow.
So if we're all, I mean, in which we are, I do understand, if we're all stacked atoms,
yeah.
Stacked conscious atoms,
Yep.
What holds us together?
Electromagnetic forces. That's what holds us together. You don't touch anything. So I may look like I'm touching this chair right now, right? I'm not actually touching the chair. You actually never touch anything. The repulsion of the electromagnetic frequency orbiting the electrons and atoms in my hand are repelling the ones inside the chair, creating a repulsive force, not allowing my hand to pass through the chair, because honestly, atoms are 99.999% empty space. And so what that means is atoms are mostly empty. There's nothing there. The only thing we have is these electromagnetic fields that give us the illusion of separation and solidity. And so if I can obtain the atomic frequency of the vibration of the atoms in this chair and make my hand match that frequency, I would pass my hand right through the chair like it didn't even exist. So there's probably people, beings, maybe on other planets or maybe even here now, that have learned this technique. We're gonna match the frequency of this wall and just walk right through. Imagine the military puts on a special suit that can match the frequency of a solid concrete wall and walk right through the wall. It's gonna look like magic. That's just technology, you see? They understand how to match frequencies. If I took all 8 billion people on Earth and took away the empty space in their atoms, I can fit every human being into one sugar cube. There's nothing here. We're not even here. That's how, it's really our higher selves. See, our consciousness doesn't exist. It's not created by the brain, I should say. It exists, but it's not created by the brain. It exists in a higher dimension. It's here in the third dimension now because it's inhabiting this avatar body, but it's coming in on a beam of light, on an invisible beam. We're inhabiting this avatar body. If you understand that your body doesn't create the consciousness, it downloads it. And what downloads it into your body? You have your neural correlates of consciousness, which are 3 giant neurons that wrap around the inside of the skull like a giant crown of thorns. Sound familiar? Everyone walks around with a crown of thorns in their head right now. And then you have your neocortex in the front, which is for spatial and higher reasoning. And then you have your magnetite crystals. And so those 3 things together harness and hold in the frequency that is you, that is saying, this is who I am. And it allows you to inhabit temporally, this avatar body until this avatar body gives out and ceases to operate and exist because of entropy, and releases that spirit energy back into the source, where it will then be recycled once again somewhere else. And so this, the understanding of this is just so powerful, because you got to understand that you are already eternal. We're already eternal beings. When you talk to yourself, you're talking to your higher self from a higher dimension. You're speaking to yourself in another realm. We are all supernatural, eternal beings. A lot of people are trying to fight to become eternal, but we already are eternal. We've already been here for eons and eons. There could be people that you know that look like kids that are ancient. And there also can be people that are older people that are newborn babies, spiritually. Could be their first time arriving here in this energy format.
You're talking about old souls.
Old souls, right. Exactly, old souls. There could be a kid that could be ancient, could be eons old. And there could be a lady that could be 70, that could be brand new. First cycle here, first time operating in this energy, in this spiritual energy, in this dimension. You know, so it's a lot to grasp. I know I threw a lot at you at once, but it's such a huge story. I think it's really amazing. For me, it makes me feel more incredible. I feel like I'm part of something super massive and big. I don't think it makes me feel small at all. I feel like because everything is connected, that everything is me and everything is you. If I'm talking to you, I'm really talking to myself. There's only one consciousness that exists.
Well, that was actually a question I wanted to ask you. Do you think that we share consciousness?
Absolutely.
Well, then, if we share consciousness, why is there good and evil?
Right here where this valley comes out, there's a natural waterway. It's a dry riverbed. That is called a wadi, W-A-D-I. If you went into that wadi, you would find there are rocks all over the place, but they've all been pushed out of the way to make a path. Somebody pushed all the rocks out of the way to make a path for wagons, apparently. That dry riverbed, the wadi, ends up at that white dot, which you can barely see from this satellite map. That white dot is actually this giant beach. Off to the right, you can see where that wadi comes into it, that dry riverbed. And at the bottom of that beach, way down there, which would be the south end, at the south end, Ron Wyatt found this pillar. It had fallen down, half in the water. He and his sons dragged it out, scrubbed it off. A lot of it was eroded, but part of it was still readable. And it basically said something to the effect of, this pillar was erected by King Solomon to commemorate the crossing of the Red Sea. So they went and did some research. The National Geophysical Data Center in Boulder, Colorado has a map showing the depth of the water. How deep is the water? Above this red arrow, you can see where it says the Elan Deep, or Elat Deep. It's nearly 5,000 feet deep. The Gulf of Aqaba is. Incredibly deep water. South of there is the Aragonese Deep, which again is nearly 5,000 feet deep. Right where that arrow is, there's a shallow place. It's only 900 feet deep, which is still pretty deep. But 900 foot in 8 or 9 miles is a nice gentle slope down and a nice gentle slope up. Easy for wagons. There's an underwater land bridge right there. He says they walked across on dry ground, 900-foot wall of water on both sides. He went out to as deep as they could go, 100 feet or whatever, 150 feet with the scuba equipment, and found all along, as far as they could go, chariot wheels with no chariots attached to them. And chariot bodies crumbling badly, poorly conditioned, with no wheels on them. They found horse skeletons and human skeletons crusted over with coral. The chariot wheels, you can see one here in this picture, it's kind of hard to see, but it's gold-plated wood, but the wood has rotted out. There's only one Egyptian dynasty that used 4-spoke, 6-spoke, and 8-spoke, all three types used in this one dynasty. And all three are found down there, or something like that. If you look at the far right, this arrow is pointing to a mountain in Saudi Arabia called Jabal al-Laws, which means Mountain of Laws. It's been labeled that for centuries. Could Mount Sinai be in Arabia? Well, let's see what the Bible says. Galatians chapter 4. Which gendereth the bondage which is Agar, for this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. Hello, it's been there all along, folks. Okay. Why have they been looking in the Sinai Peninsula? That's not where it is. This is a picture of the mountain that apparently is Mount Sinai. The top of it is still black. This may be the place where Moses got the Ten Commandments. At the bottom you can see an altar with a calf on it. This may be the altar that Moses or Aaron set up. Okay. God told Moses to stand upon the rock. He said, "Thou shalt smite the rock, and water will come out that the people may drink." Of course, most Bible pictures will show a little stream of water coming out. How long would it take to water 2 million people plus their cows and sheep? Hello, it'll take a little while, wouldn't it? This Bible map or Bible picture shows a little bigger stream. Well, that's getting closer. Actually, this building is from a picture taken from a half-mile away. This rock is as tall as a 5-story building. It is split right down the middle. Ron says this is the place, this is the rock that's split in half. And water came pouring out. You can see erosion marks. It'd be worth getting his video if you want to really study more on this, called the Evidences video, or Discoveries, I think it is. Ron Wyatt Discoveries. Really good.
Hello, everybody. About 4 or 5 years ago, I suppose, I found myself in a very toxic relationship. And somebody said, "Oh, go and watch." There was a few channels, and in it I found this one, which I'm subbed to. I suppose what it is for me is that Mickey was a lovely man, and I never felt, well, he definitely wasn't one. He was not a narcissist. So my life for the last few years has not been any of this. And then today, after something that's happened to me, I came across this video by him, and it says he was live, but he's not on that background. That is the only thing I want to say. But he says he's a real person. Maybe it's just easier. Maybe, well, anyway, I don't think he's on the background, but I like what he says. You know, we'll just play a little bit of it. And it's just that I thought this friend of mine was a lot nicer person. But in reality, he's one of these. Anyway, I'll just put it on because it's just that I saw it. And, you know, in my channel, I suppose when, you know, we've got these videos, a lot of them are out, some of them aren't out yet. Make these videos, and then you've got things like this. And these things are really happening. And not only are all these things happening, and we're allowed to, all these other aspects are going on where just, for me, I don't ever want to speak to this person again. Because They were quite like what he's going to say. But anyway, let's listen to a bit of him.
In this one, I'm going to be speaking about when you can't be around most people. I had my spiritual awakening. I realized just how damaging this stuff is. It's really bad. And unfortunately, most people today, that's what they're involved in. But don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't want to be around people. I'm not saying this is why we don't want to be around anyone. I'm not saying that at all. It's more, this is why we can't. We want to, but we can't. And I'm sure you experienced this a long time ago. You may have been involved with certain people in your life. You may have had them as a part of your life.
The way I look at things, you know, I just think, how do you live your life? Do you live your life outside in or inside out? Which one how do you live your life? Well, I like to think that I live it inside out. Everything comes from inside you. You're looking at it through your eyes out. Inside out. When it's outside in, I mean, we all have those things, the new camera, the car, the holiday, whatever it is, we have these things. It's okay, you're allowed to have them. But it won't work for you if the only place you're living is what is coming at you. You have to have enough inside you coming out. I just wondered how other people lived their life. That's what it feels like to me anyway.
But then you grew apart. You could no longer be around them anymore because you went your separate ways. You were going one way into your personal growth, your self-development, becoming the best version of yourself, staying away from anything negative or toxic, while they were going right into it. That's the direction that they were going in, and you did not want to be a part of it. Yet they were holding on to it for their lives. They didn't want to let that shit go. But you did. You had enough of it. You wanted to leave that in the past so that you could move forward with your life.
It's not something that he actually mentions, I think, on this video. Well, maybe he does later on, but basically, these people are very selfish. They don't care about your feelings at all. They only care about their own. Selfish. So selfish. That's the difference which makes you an empath or not, because when you're an empath, you think about other people's feelings. We're all looking for like-minded people, but you know, there's just a lot of these people. And, you know, if you're sensitive at all, it's horrible. I think this is what he is, a sensitive person who's realised a lot of stuff. And, you know, in other videos, they just don't change. They will never change once they're one of them. You might have tendencies, but it doesn't mean you are one. Anyway, let's carry on with the video.
But it's very lonely for them when they see you moving on and things are getting better for you. Because they're still stuck in that pit of misery where they believe that you have left them. As though you've just abandoned them. And now you're elevating on your own, but it was never like that. You may be waiting for them for a very long time, hoping that at some point they would change and they would decide to be better. But no, they didn't want to be a part of that. They wanted to remain the same. They wanted to keep doing what they were doing. So then you had no choice but to move on and leave them behind. Because whenever you're around them,
Well, I think there might even be another one, but yeah, look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's quite a few there, isn't there? So hopefully if Narc Survivor sees this, he'll see that I have put my own input into it as well. But thank you very much to him, because he's the reason that I've made this video today. Also, you know, in life, say you are not very happy as a child. That child has the broken cookie tape. And also, with the broken cookie tape, with the broken cookies are mannerisms and things that they will do like a child. So inside you, you have a child, a parent, and an adult. And that parent in you often parents you just like your parents treated you. But if we end up being this weird society that doesn't know what it wants and is narcissistical, then obviously those parents didn't do very well, and you don't need to do anything. Do what you want. But I would say you need to own yourself and realise that there's probably thousands of hours of parental tapes going around your head, and you treat yourself just like your parents treated you. So hopefully for some children it's very good, but for a lot it wasn't. In life, we're supposed to be an adult. I'm okay, you're okay. An adult. But the other stance is, one is the baby. It's like, I'm not okay, but you're okay. The baby's being fed and feels okay. Then it's like, well, I'm not okay and you're not okay. Then comes, well, I'm okay, but you're not okay. All that has happened by the age of 3. And most people will pick one of those stances in life for the rest of their life. And the fourth one, which is I'm okay, you're okay, is because you are recognizing the child and the parent and what some of these outdated systems have done to you and your life. This is what happened for me. That you realize that sometimes you're being the child in that. Sometimes you are telling yourself off just like you treat yourself, just like your parents treated you. An adult thinks about things, thinks, should I, shouldn't I? Yes, no. But that one's different. And in this book, it's Hardy, I think his name is, I'm okay, you're okay. But it's basically like he says, when someone comes knocking on the door of life, who's going to answer it for you? Your child? Your parent? Or your adult? Yeah, I thought that was very interesting indeed, because that is also going on as well.
all they're ever going to do is pull you back into whatever this mental snapshot they had of you back when you used to be involved with them. They're going to pull you back into that, even though back then that may not have been who you even were. It's just how they saw you, it's how they perceived you. So they're going to pull you back into that. You cannot be around these types of people without them trying to get you to align with their beliefs, their perspectives, their agenda. You can't be yourself. You can't have your own opinions and beliefs. You can't have your own feelings. You can't have anything. When you're around most people, you can't have anything. They want to have full control over you.
I was in my 20s when I got this rude awakening. My marriage had just ended, and I felt that I was just empty inside, that there was nothing there. And I didn't know how to sort anything out. I had no answers for anything. And then I got into reading and I got into psychology, see. And it made me realise quite a lot about people, why we do the things we do, how different men and women are, what we mean, what we think they mean, and so on. Just so many aspects. I read and I read and I read. Obviously, I can't get one of those books out in the middle of an argument and say, page 6, chapter 2, here's the answer. Because everything's always on, is from the past, isn't it? And what you take through to your future. But, you know, when I came across these channels, they were channels explaining things. And, you know, it's just incredible that we as a society are really like this, where I suppose what it is no one has bothered to understand why or who they are. And, you know, until you do that, I mean, you know, even waking up, you might have thought that, and as time goes on, other things change, and you change your opinion again. Doesn't mean I change what I believe exactly, but just that bits in it might have changed a little bit. And then with that knowledge, it's just, you're only who you are with what you know. So, anyway, let's carry on with the video.
They want to dictate your every move. They want to tell you what to think, what to feel. And they want to pull you into all of these self-destructive acts that they're involved in. But they're constantly damaging themselves every day. They're drinking alcohol. They're using recreational drugs. They're going to bars and clubs. As I said, I don't do any of that. I don't get involved in it.
I mean, when you think about it, it's quite serious, all this, because people can really mess your life up. And they don't care anyway. It's just such a shame that we've turned into these beasts. I mean, some people don't think the people are real anymore. Was it NRP? Whatever it is, you know which one I mean, don't you? They're just non-void people. Or maybe that just shows you how sad people are inside, really. And all they show us on television is a war after a war, or a threat of a war, or a threat of that. And, you know, they just want to show you doom and gloom all the time and keep you in another place down there. Because, you know, sometimes you can't move on because, well, the past is terrible. And the future looks awful. And you can't live in the present. And that's something else that's going on. You need to make peace with your past as much as possible, so that you take that into your future, and then you're okay in the present. And in the future, you're already this person. A changed person, not somebody who can't make their mind up, doesn't know what they want, doesn't know who they are. It's really important you know who you are.
And some of you, I get it, I understand it may feel lonely. You may feel like sometimes you just want a friend. You wish there was someone who was there for you, someone who you could talk to, someone who would understand. And yet it's like, no. All of the boys, all of the girls that you used to hang around with, where are they? They're going out to the clubs, they're partying with all of their friends. They're meant to be having a good time. And you're left out. It's like they just forgot about you. Well, no, they just feel like it's not so cool when you're around. It's not so cool with you. And I know what that's like.
If you ever happen to go over to his channel and listen to any of his videos, it's not that you can say that you know him, but he does explain quite a lot about his life. That, you know, he's had girlfriends or partners, and, you know, he only realised afterwards, as we do, that they were narcissists. And for me, you know, looking it all up, it was like, that's a new word for me a few years ago. It isn't anymore. And I hadn't realised that we are a society of narcissists generally. When you wake up or you have a spiritual awakening, your whole life changes. You see things differently. And a lot of us believe we're living on something else than we're being told as well. But that's another story, because he's not talking about things like that. But without all he's talking about, it's a mixture of all these things. And I quite like how he explains it. Obviously, it has affected his life. He says in these videos that he spends a lot of time on his own because he can't really be around a lot of people, because he's done a lot of work on himself, and nearly everybody he meets is a narcissist. And he is telling the truth out there. You know, I'm sorry, most of the world is a narcissist. There's not really that many nice people anymore. So let's just carry on with his video.
But they can't be vulnerable, they can't connect to you, and they don't even want you to connect to them. You couldn't even if you tried, because they're disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from their own emotions. So whenever you get around most people instantly, you have to disconnect from yourself. You have to disconnect from your own emotions as well. You have to do that for them to feel comfortable around you. Because otherwise, whenever you're around, they're always walking on eggshells. They do not feel comfortable around you. And it's not because they can't be themselves, no, it's because they can't be their false self. Because when you're around them, you're not accepting that. You know that the false self is not who they really are. You know that there's something beneath the surface. You know that there's something underneath that. But also, if you knew what that was, you wouldn't want to be around that as well.
There's going to be the lucky children who had nice parents. You know, one of the ways I think is that, you know, if you have this child and you're always moaning at it, always telling it off, telling it it's wrong, shouting it, smacking it, the whole thing, then how is that child going to grow up? If you have another child where you try and show as much love as possible, sometimes you make mistakes and you tell that child, sorry, that was me. I made that mistake. It's okay, you were right then. And you give this child a different outlook and a different way of being, then that child will turn out to be totally different to the one that was smacked and shouted at. So you see, a lot of it comes from your childhood. And everybody's moving on, and we do live in the now, but it's always much better when you've sorted out the past, or realise there's some things you'll never sort out, but they're just dirty little secrets for other people. And then learning to tell the truth about who you are as a person, and not hiding behind or lying or pretending that you're somebody that you're not. It's just so sad for people who can't be honest. If you're not honest, nothing's real. Nothing. If there's lies in it, it's not real. Anyway, let's carry on.
Because it took me some time until I began to realize what that actually was and how it is for most people today. Underneath this false image that they portray to the world is actually someone who's very angry, bitter, and resentful. Someone who's very fed up with life. And that's why whenever you get around them, you feel anxious, you feel depressed, you feel like you're being pulled down, because that's exactly how it is for them inside. Even though they may not always display it outwardly, that's what's going on inside of them internally. That's why whenever you get around them, you don't feel good, you don't feel comfortable, because you can't be yourself. Because they've got to project that nonsense onto you. They've got to get you to agree with it. They've got to get you to act in accordance with it, so that they can feel like it's you and not them.
The only sad thing is that, obviously, because, you know, I watched the odd thing of his, but I just really caught this one today. And, you know, nothing really changes. He says the same things, but I suppose I feel a little bit like that. You know, I feel I've told you everything I needed to, and in a way I'm just repeating myself on some of this stuff because we're not recognised and the videos aren't promoted properly, and YouTube are trying to kill me off most of the time. But I really, you know, with life and people, if we're dealing with people like this all the time, well, this is why we probably want to be on our own or stay at home a lot, because we can't be dealing with people like this all the time, which break your spirituality, all because they're a narcissist, because really they're in pain and they haven't resolved their inner pain, or from childhood, because that's where most of it comes from, and then they push it all over you and then blame you for it. And like he says, you can't be yourself. You can't be yourself because you're not where they are. They're in this angry, even if it's inner anger, but an inner anger of numbness, really. Numbness, anger. I know they're different things, but it's inner. And they don't even realise that that's what it is. You know, I'm not Miss Perfect and everything, but I'm so glad that I took a look at myself and I know who I am. As a person, as a human being. And I'm so glad that I met Mickey, because he was such a lovely man to me. He was proud to have me as his girlfriend. That is special to me. Lovely Mickey, I just wish he was here. Yeah, the world was a better place with him in it. But, you know, life goes on and you try different things. You meet up with friends. You just, that you might not have done if it had been the other way round. But of course, sure, you do learn a lesson very quickly. And I'm just so sad that people are so low-vibed and haven't worked themselves out, because as he's talking here about you can't spend your time around lots of people, the greatest service to mankind is that you know who you are as a person, and that you're not putting all this resentment and pain and everything from the past on top of other people. I mean, I know we live in a minefield when you think that this is also a part of it, but it's quite crazy. Obviously, we're getting worse at it generally. I see, I'm an empath. And that means I feel other people's feelings. And I'm not, well, I don't. I mean, obviously, maybe we all have narcissistical tendencies. Maybe we all have. We can't ever really get away with it. But I don't live my life like that because I know who I am. And yeah, it's just so sad that you meet people whose life paths are so different, but they're not spiritual and they're not uplifting, and they're full of pain and resentment, and they don't even realise, and then they're so distant, really, for that reason, and then it's your fault. Things you've done when it isn't. It's actually what they haven't done. But it doesn't matter. I suppose a lot of people, if they've got to this part of the video, are awake and understand what he's saying. But it's quite awful, isn't it, that we not only do we have all the problems, we've got this to deal with. And, you know, when you wake up or you have a spiritual awakening, it changes everything. And you cannot go back. And that's what happens with flatties. You just can't go back and then pretend it's something that it's not. You can't. But it's just so sad that society is like this, that it's just so sad that it's such hard work. And people are pretending to be honest when they're not. But let's carry on with this video. I'm sure we all face these people. They're in our families, they're in our friends. It's just so sad because I never would have thought that when we were together years ago, but that's what it is. And most people have not woken up. Well, that's not true. People are waking up. But these ones, the narcissist ones, ooh, they haven't woken up and they never will. And you've got to fit into something they've made for you. You're not cool to be around because your opinions are a little bit different. And that means that you're the problem and you're not cool to be around. When he said that, I thought, oh my God, I've got to make a little video because I do very much understand that. But it's okay. It's all okay if you're awake. What's your thoughts? He's very deep on some of his talk. I like what he says. It's just so sad that this is what we are.
Agree with it and accept that it's real when it's not, so that they can believe that it's real and they can continue to live in this delusion where they're so much greater than what they actually are, then they can feel better about themselves, even though it's fake happiness, it's not even real. And that's all they're really trying to do. They manipulate their audience on TikTok or Instagram, making them believe in a lie.
Supposedly, you should be able to stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself, and not in some egotistical, horrible way, but stand there and say that you love yourself. I mean, if you don't know who you are, or you don't care, or everything is outer, how do you build a good relationship with anybody? If you're always lying to yourself, lying to everyone else, and having this false persona just to make yourself feel better because actually you're lost in there. I read this book once and this person explained life was like a house. So there's the basement, the first floor, the second floor, maybe a third floor in the attic. Down in the basement, whoever's down there, it's dark and dingy down there. No one can see what they're doing. Everybody's bumping into each other. Nobody knows where they're going. No one knows how to sort anything out. And it's dark. And as you go up the floors, so you get to the next floor, you're starting to recognise where some of these things aren't good for you or that you can work them out. And then by the time you get to the attic, it's unconditional love. I mean, I'm sure you get there. We all do, but it is hard to stay there. You've got to trust that life will sort itself out when you get up there. But, you know, you've got to know who you are. So your life is like a house. How many people are down there in the basement? They don't know what's going on. They don't know how to sort it out. They can't see each other. They can't help each other. They don't know where they're going, what they're doing. I mean, it just sounds horrible to me. But once you know who you are more as a person, or even that life will or can sort things out as you wake up or realise things, well, hopefully I'm more that side of things. But, you know, if we're always dealing with people who don't know who they are and are taking their life out on you and can't even get to that depth, because how deep can they really get if they haven't got any of it in the first place and they're hiding up this broken mirror that's broken? Yeah, anyway, let's carry on.
Their life isn't even like that. And I can tell you that because if it was real, if they actually did the work and achieved something for real, I would be the first person to congratulate them. And I would be so proud of them if it was actually real, if someone actually did the work and made that happen in reality.
You know, babies are perfect when they're born. And unfortunately, well, look at babies. They look right into your soul. I love babies. They look right into you because they've got nothing to hide and no fears. Not with humans. And then over time, people start looking away or down because of things. All unspoken things that people don't talk about. But they do happen if 96% of the parents are dysfunctional. He says it in this video. Everybody thinks that they know everything and they're so perfect. But it's always, you know, we're alive because we're growing and learning. That's what I think. You're dead when you've shut everything else off and you're not moving on and learning and growing and understanding. Yeah, but we are humans and we do have feelings. And it's the one thing we don't really talk about. Not really.
But the reality is that most of these people are actually very miserable, anxious, and depressed. It's nothing like what you think it is. They're just putting on an act for you to make you think that you're missing out, as though there's this ideal world outside of who you are and what you're doing, and you're just missing out on all of that. That's what they want you to think. And you've got to think, hold on a minute, if that's actually real, think about this. Because I know this in myself. If I was having such a great time, I was living my best life, I wouldn't find any pleasure or enjoyment at keeping someone else out of it. That wouldn't make me happy at all. If anything, that would make me miserable.
Something else that he's not quite mentioned is that people are so egotistical. I don't run my life like that, but I meet, or I realise, or I've just realised how egotistical people can be. I mean, they say you need your ego to get out of bed, but I think it's how you use your ego. And basically, he's just talking about false people. You know, he mentions, because obviously he's a bit younger. So there's a nice birdie singing out there. I don't know if you can hear it on the recording, but it's quite sweet, that birdie singing. Thank you, birdie. Thank you. He's going for it out there. Maybe it's mating or something. Oh, there he is. He's just flown off. He's in the top of the tree. He's probably looking at me through the window. He's gone now. But anyway, you know, it's just how we use it. Or, you know, I just find that people who've woken up don't worry about the ego side of life. We just want to get on. We don't want to be bosses of each other. We don't want to be better than anyone else. We just want to get on. Well, that's what I see. I don't know if that's the same for everyone else.
So then you've got to conclude that when they're doing this, and a lot of times, these narcissistic people, when they get on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it is, they're trying to provoke envy or jealousy in their audience. They want to have something that they think other people desire to have. And there's a reason for that. It's because they can't actually find any fulfillment in it themselves directly. Their fulfillment, if you can even call it that, it comes from other people experiencing it, or rather observing it, so that they can then experience it vicariously through them, from seeing them being envious or jealous of it, and then that's what provides them with some level of fulfillment.
The really sad thing is it's something that's actually lacking in them. I mean, well, I'll say my poem. It's a good poem. Maybe it'll make you think. It's a little bit, well, anyway, it's a bit deep, I suppose, but I wrote it in my 20s. Hopefully I get it right. It goes, why be afraid of your emotional dealings? Too scared to challenge the thought of true feelings? Confused, abused, done out of losing, you've trapped them inside, abandoned or bruising. You trap them inside to make them lie there, from child grown to adult, unable to share. Your eyes say one thing, your mouth says another, and you're too afraid to put one with the other. But you see, your eyes are the windows into your soul, and you're stuck behind them like a facade in a bowl. You are the rock, forever changing. You have no sides, no bars. You're always moulding and recreating. You are the pun, locked deep down inside by fears of past life that nobody knows. So you set your life out in nice little rows, forgetting the reaction of how we react when unspeakingly spoken humans attract. You're not prepared for the emotional roller coaster ride or the emotional sea tide. But really, how much are you willing to let go, to share with another, to let a seed grow? Yeah, I wrote that after my first marriage. Because we do set our life out in nice little rows. And then if we haven't sorted all that out, and it's like he's talking about social media, but you don't have to be on social media. You can just be doing this to your friends. Or putting it on your Facebook. I mean, that place is quite like you put something out and someone will always be really rude to you. And you think, wow. Maybe other people won't see it, the ones that are like them. But some of the messages, they're just so rude to you. But unfortunately, that's what Facebook is like. So I don't often answer a lot of my posts because I just don't want to be seeing all the horrible messages. Because they're always saying, well, you just haven't woken up. And it's like, oh my God. But yeah, let's carry on again.
So that's why they do it. That's why they obsessively post their life on social media and act like they're having such a great time. They can't be real. Well, as you may know, with myself doing these videos now for almost 5.5 years, this is probably what attracts so many people to me. It's the fact that I am actually real. I don't put on an act. I don't act like my life is so much better than it's not.
If you're hooked into that kind of life, that television life, I loved it the other day. My son said to me, well, he's been like, because obviously all this stuff happened with Kate and everything, and then it was like he was going, you know, aren't we paying them enough attention or something? And then he said, Mum, I've worked it out. The royal family is a soap opera. And I clapped my hands. Well done, son, I said, well done. That's, if you believe in all that, look at the dramas and the lies that you're in. And, yeah, look, well, let's just carry on with the video.
Or than it is, rather. I just tell her like it is. I'm real. I don't give a false image about my life. You just see exactly how I am. And it looks like a lot of people are missing that because everything is so fake these days. It's really fake. People are actually pretending like their life is so much better than what it actually is, like they're having a great time when they're not. When they're not. And in fact, if you look at the statistics, it reveals that 96% of families in the world are dysfunctional.
Cool, if that's a real statistic here, that's quite damning then, isn't it, if 96% of the population is dysfunctional. The thing is, you have to work out your childhood, because in there probably lots of things happened, because everybody starts off with, oh, I had such a wonderful childhood. But when you go and look at it, you realise that you didn't. And then this is where you made your stances in life from a child because of the way you've been treated. But now you're an adult, it's not that you've changed into, well, you've blossomed into an adult. Well, it should be blossoming. But because you're bringing all that past behind you, you've turned into this certain kind of human. You're not a free spirit human. You're now a human with lots of problems that you've brought with you since you were maybe 2, 3 years of age. And, you know, just what was our parents doing if so much of my generation doesn't know what it wants or where it's going in relationships, in life, and is pretty narcissistical anyway? And if you're sensitive, you can't be around lots of people because, you know, all they do is unleash the problems they've not solved onto you and blamed you for it. So you can't be around them, and they don't feel for you. They only feel for themselves. I mean, that's just, it's like the complete opposite of the kind of person that I am. I'm not saying that I give this to every single body, but people that know me know I'm a nice person. And, you know, these people wouldn't even take the time to get to know you because the most important thing in their life is themselves. It's just so sad because it's just shutting off so much of life, so much care, love, and it's just so sad that people haven't maybe even realised that that's what they are, a narcissist.
And in fact, dysfunctional people, what they enjoy is the opposite of normal. What they're displaying as them living their best lives, them having fun, them having a functional family, social circle, whatever it may be, it is all completely fake because they don't even enjoy that themselves. And if you could be a fly on the wall, you would see that what they do enjoy is drama, gossip, fights, arguments. That's what they're into. That's what they like. Because a lot of these people are traumatized. They know that's not desirable. They know that's not what people want to see, most of the time at least. So they display something completely different. They make it look like it's this ideal image, it's functional, it's happy, but really it's not.
I mean, in a way, you kind of need counselling when you've been around these people because they're so negative and they haven't even realised that that is the sad part of it all. They're not willing to let go or be their real self, and then they use things they might even know that they're using these things, but doesn't change their mind about anything, even though they're using things. Aspects of their life, aspects of their childhood, they know where they got it from, but they still want to carry on the same way and bring these outdated things with them that don't serve them at all, and then put that all over you because they don't know who they are. That's the way it is. It's absolutely crazy. It's the biggest service to mankind you can do, is to learn who you are as a person. Anyway, let's carry on with the video.
I mean, just look back at your own family, your own friends. It's like they can act like they're having a great time when they're out in public, and yet then when you're at home, you're on your own with them, then there's all of these fights, there's this abuse, all of these problems, because they show this false image when they're out in public around other people. But then in the home, it's very different. Well, as for us, it's the exact opposite. When we are out in public, we are not comfortable with any of that. We just want to be real. But we can't be real. And the only time that we can really feel like we're ourselves is when we're at home. But then they're being themselves when they're at home, because then that's when they can rage, they can abuse, they can engage in all of these negative acts, because that's what they're really like. That's what they're really about.
Well, this is the name of this video. This is why you can't be around most people. And his channel is Narc Survivor. I'd like to obviously play the whole thing because he does say some good stuff. But I'm just playing you this teaser of him. And if you want to watch the whole thing, that's what the video is called on his channel. And thank you very much, Narc Survivor. Do you have people like this in your life? Have you let go of people like this in your life?